Welcome to Let's Talk Apprenticeships. So in Let's Talk Apprenticeship, we talk all things apprenticeship. We talk about the myths, the legends, the potential, the opportunities, and apprenticeship can bring in today. All right, so we're here with Louise Azzopardi and myself, Raman. So Louise, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about where you can find an apprenticeship. So this is a very intertwined subject, so we're going to try and break it up to a few smaller, succinct chunks.
Yes.
So today we're going to, or this episode, we're going to talk where. Where do you find an apprenticeship? Where do you start looking? It's one of the questions I get asked a lot with, like, for me particularly, girls come to me and they're like, I want to be a carpenter, but where do I start? Where do I even look?
I mean, where do we look for anything nowadays?
On the internet.
On the internet. So
we Google it.
Absolutely. Or let's see, go to a search engine you prefer and just type in apprenticeships,
Yeah.
And so obviously it's always good to refine the search by saying a heavy vehicle mechanic apprenticeship or carpentry apprenticeship and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's the more like kind of formal ways that people can find apprenticeships, like through Seek, through different job seeking setups and advertisements where businesses will actively advertise their apprenticeships. But some apprentice, so you can find a lot of standard apprenticeships that way, or it's an easy way to find it. But what are some more of the behind the scenes ways that you can find apprenticeships online?
I think looking from a personal experience and, what's probably the best way to do, because it's more a practical thing. I would say asking people, who are or have been apprentices in the past, visiting workplaces could be one. But if you want to maximize or do it efficiently, I think attending expos or exhibitions, apprenticeship exhibitions, is probably one of the best ways to go about it, because then you can see a lot of employers exhibiting their apprenticeships. There's a better chance of comparison, and we've been to a few expos, Louise, and we've seen a lot of TAFE colleges also presenting some nice information, very catered to parents and school-leaving children or even mature age people. What do you think?
Yeah, that's it. And I think like it all just comes down to like the main thing what you said is meeting people and, introducing yourself to businesses, whether that is online or in person. So like online, there's, pretty much every business has a Facebook account, Instagram account, someone on LinkedIn that you can message and talk to. And, some of those people like could be recruiters, and especially like on LinkedIn, they might just send you the link to their job ad. But sometimes these aren't on the mainstream website. Sometimes they're on, say, for example, Cummins, and it might be cummins.com/jobs. And these people can send you those links to those specific sites where you can find those apprenticeships.
Fabulous. Now, Louise, if I'm a Jane or a Joe going to an apprentice, now, sorry, I like other people too, but I'm just naming Jane and Joe, just a representative.
They're your favourite names.
I think so, JJ. So if I'm that person, now if I can be a school student, and I could even be a mature age person wanting to looking for change of careers. When I'm going about, what sort of things should I be looking for, or what sort of questions should I be asking?
So I think something that's really good to ask is, what apprenticeships do you have available? Because then that really kind of gives you a broad, they can go electrical, mechanical, boiler making, carpentry, that kind of thing as well. And then you can say, do you have any apprentices in your business? Obviously at an apprenticeship expo, they probably do. But if you're working at a different, say, if you're, something we didn't mention is cold calling as well, or turning into businesses. So another way, so we've got expos, and we've got the internet, we've got expos, but another thing you can do is cold calling in person or on the phone. So say if there's a local business and you're like, I really like what they do, that's really cool. You can turn up to their business and say, hey, do you guys take on apprentices? And that's another way that you can get into the world of getting an apprenticeship. But some of the questions back to that is, do you take on apprentices? Are you looking at taking on an apprentice? What does the apprenticeship involve in your business? So that's more at the expos, and you could be like, hey, so what would I be doing in my first year, in my second year? What would my job title outcome be at the end? What kind of training do I get during the apprenticeship? are there any benefits? Will I have to travel? Is it local? Is it like a rotating? Will I be on different sites all the time? Will I be on the same site? That's just like a brain dump of questions. Did I miss anything there, Raman?
I think so. I think you've covered pretty much everything, and I think something which now also pops up as a very important aspect of employment, regardless of whether it's an apprenticeship or not, is the culture of the organization. You know, their policies and procedures. You know, their safety record even.
Yeah.
I think is very important, and I think the new generation is also very career savvy. So they also want to know what's going to be my next and the next and the next steps. So that those are the questions you can ask as well.
Yeah.
And I think we were talking also offline is it's always good to ask also whether there is a work experience or a work trial opportunity.
Yeah. So we'll talk a bit more about work experience and work trial in probably with the next episode.
Next episode, but it's
But
definitely a question they can ask. You know,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. But I think, and again, it's always good to collect all that information and make your own little table of, you know, if you're caught between 2 or 3 different apprenticeships or trades, then weigh out the pros and cons, and then also be talking to people. So it's not going to be like you've gone to an exhibition or you've gone online and you found it in the first hit. I mean, you'll be very lucky if that happens, but I think it's advisable to then synthesize all that information, take some good notes, ask people, and come to words. Yeah. So now, in terms of apprenticeships, you know, and from experience, most organizations will commence apprentices, you know, in the first 3 months of the year.
Yeah.
In
So
Australia,
typically businesses do that.
do that.
So with the kind of apprenticeship season, you could almost call
Yes.
it, a lot of larger companies start taking applications for their next year's apprentices between July and September. It's kind of a bit of a wide range. And then they close applications, and then they have the interview process and that kind of thing. If you're, say, looking for an apprenticeship outside of this season, sometimes there would be one-off apprenticeships available at larger companies, but smaller businesses generally take them on an ongoing basis. If the workload is picked up, then they're probably looking for an apprenticeship. If they're a lot of businesses, this is why I talked about cold calling and, you know, even just reaching out to people, is sometimes businesses are just waiting for the right person to come along to take on an apprentice, and they're not outwardly advertising for it. So a lot of those businesses would be like, hey, we're going to mention work experience again, talking about like, come for work experience. If you're the right fit, we'll start you.
Yes, it is. And I think there is certainly a shortage of good candidates, if I may say, because I think, again, there can be different opinions in this regard, but at least in Australia, a lot of apprentices came from families who had opportunities for doing something in the shed, in the garage, you know, helping mom and dad with something technical, or even from the farm like yourself. And hence there was always a supply of good candidates into trades. Now it's a bit of a rarity. And hence I think the early exposure is better, and hence so much of work is required to know whether it's going to work for me. Okay. And hence I think organizations like TAFE and employers are now creating more of such opportunities around the year for people to come in, and hence they've also made their policies supporting recruitment all around the year. And I remember, 12, 13 years ago, there was a beginning of the year at TAFE. Now you can pretty much drop in an apprentice at any point, and then they will catch up and fit it, because they have got a lockstep calendarized schedule, and people can pick up at one, because they're delivered in units of competency or subjects. So you can obviously pick up at any point and just keep going. So, but ideally, as you say, it's always good to start from the beginning and be with the flow, because then you're with a group and you all learn together. But if you're a mature age person who doesn't mind starting anytime, I think any time is a good time.
Yeah, that's it. And one thing, I think all of these connections and stuff that we're talking about, where to get an apprenticeship, is all based on your network, and your network can grow from this. Like, even now, I'm 12 years down the track from when I was looking for an apprenticeship. Some of those businesses that I went and inquired about remember who I am as all part of my network. And coming back to that again, your family and your friends, like, even if you start putting out there, hey, I'm thinking of being a carpenter, I'm thinking of being a mechanic, your cousin, your uncle, your aunt might be like, oh, one of my mates, like, they've got a small business, they're looking for a plumbing apprentice, they're looking for a carpentry apprentice. Do you want to do a work trial there? And in my family and in my community, that's how a lot of people have gotten apprenticeships as well, through that connection too. So it's, you know, sometimes you don't even have to look outside the network that you have to find the apprenticeship. They're actually really anywhere.
So get the message out there. I'm in for this. Please help me. And I think in my life, my two of my cousins were very instrumental in this, because one of them didn't want me to not do it. So he had passed that opportunity and regretted big time. So he didn't want me to regret. And the other one thought I might just try to get out of it because I don't want to do it. So she made sure that she got the newspaper cut out. She also got the inland letter. And she made sure that we wrote the application, and she didn't trust me to post, so she posted it herself. So, you know, you're absolutely right. There will be people around you who are keen for you to start that, but it's up to you to then put it out there, show the initiative, and as a today, information is king.
Yeah.
So inform yourself and pursue.
That's it. And I think, like, we're talking a lot about having supportive family members, and I've come across some people who don't have supportive family members. Like, a lot of our generation, you know, hence the skill shortage, has been pushed towards university, or told that university is above trades, or, you know, people, especially people, minorities, like females in the male-dominated space, sometimes their family members or friends might tell them that, oh, that's a silly idea, should you do that? And really, like, if you don't have the support within your family, you can get it elsewhere. That's, like, part of what me and you do in our businesses now, Raman. Like, and even once you enter into a workplace, those people typically become like your family and support you through as well.
True, and that's one of those things where we're going to also bust some myths in this podcast series. And, you know, you and me have gone to a few exhibitions. We've gone to some schools to educate students about it. And one of the first things we said is we're trying to wipe the image of a grease monkey. So diesel mechanics would call that. And then we showed them images of you using a laptop as your first choice of tool to diagnose a fault. So it's changed so much. Yes, there is still grease involved. We can't get away with that. But it's not just that. It's much, much, much more than that. So we want people who will give you both perspectives. Someone tells you about the hard work, getting the dirty part, in the most true sense, and as well we want the people who want to also tell you about the more sophisticated, clean part of the job and the positives. Yeah. So I think that's, and again, we want to say nothing wrong about going to university. It's people whoever wants to go, but we just want to say that that's not the only way for success.
That's it.
Apprenticeships can give you, if not at par, better opportunities.
Yeah, that's it. And we might be a bit biased because we've gone through all the amazing opportunities.
Certainly.
But let's reel it back to why we started this episode. So where can we get, where can people find apprenticeships?
I think, yes, they can. As I said, online is one thing. We got going to expos, talking to people, and even if not, just apply, look in the newspapers.
Like, just apply, yeah.
Just apply, because only that's the way you could really experience the whole process, how it goes. And because, yes, just because there is a shortage, organizations aren't taking just anyone. So also find, what is required for me to be the best applicant in that. So obviously we'll be having a lot of episodes coming for that in detail. But for now, yes, as you said, online work, apprenticeship expos, talking to people, workplace visits. And I think we should also mention, if you're at school, your careers advisor is one of your best sources of that information.
Careers advisors. And also we've got our Instagram page, Let's Talk Apprenticeships. And we will be sharing where any expos are that we know about through there. So if you want to keep up to date on that too, you can follow us there. And I think that's pretty much it for where we can find apprenticeships. Like we said in previous episodes, you can find us on Instagram, as well as our email will be in the comment box below. And really just go out and find apprenticeships.
And again, we're doing this from Braid Oz Sunrise Studio. So thank you, Braid Oz, for giving us this studio to run this podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
So see you next time.
Bye.